Do you understand English but still struggle to speak naturally?
Today, you will learn the everyday English phrases native speakers use all the time but textbooks never teach you.
Have you ever listened to two native English speakers having a conversation and thought, wait, I know every single word they said, so why couldn't I understand the whole conversation? If that has ever happened to you, don't worry. You are definitely not alone. Millions of English learners spend years studying grammar rules, memorizing long vocabulary lists, and reading textbooks. Yet, when they hear real people speaking English in everyday life, it suddenly feels like they're listening to a completely different language. The truth is, the problem isn't your intelligence, your memory, or even your pronunciation. The real problem is that most textbooks teach you correct English, but they don't always teach you natural English, the kind of English that native speakers actually use every single day.
That's absolutely right, Emma. Think about it for a moment. Native speakers don't stop in the middle of a conversation to remember grammar rules, and they certainly don't speak exactly the way textbooks present dialogues. Instead, they use short, natural phrases, common expressions, and everyday reactions that make conversations sound smooth, relaxed, and effortless. These are the expressions you hear in coffee shops, offices, schools, airports, restaurants, and even in movies, TV shows, podcasts, and YouTube videos. Once you start learning these phrases, you'll notice something amazing. You won't just understand native speakers better, you'll also begin to sound much more natural yourself.
Exactly. And that's why today's episode is going to be incredibly valuable for every English learner, whether you're a beginner or already at an intermediate level. Today, we're sharing some of the most common English phrases that native speakers use every single day. But surprisingly, many textbooks either ignore them completely or barely mention them. These simple expressions can instantly make your English sound more fluent, more confident, and much more natural in real-life conversations.
So stay with us until the very end, because every phrase we'll discuss today comes with real-life examples, practical conversations, and easy explanations that you can start using immediately. By the end of this episode, you'll have a collection of everyday English expressions that will help you understand native speakers more easily and communicate with much greater confidence.
So grab a notebook if you like to take notes, relax, and let's discover the real English that native speakers actually use every single day. Welcome to Modern English Talk. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Modern English Talk, the podcast where we help you speak English with confidence, sound more natural, and communicate the way native speakers actually do. I'm your host, Emma, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Alex. Whether you're listening while you're driving, studying, walking, relaxing at home, or practicing your English, we're so happy you've decided to spend a few minutes with us today. Our goal isn't just to teach you English, we want to help you use English comfortably in real-life situations, so you can speak without constantly translating every sentence in your mind.
Hi everyone, it's great to be back with another exciting episode. Today we're focusing on something that can completely change the way you speak English. Many learners spend years memorizing vocabulary lists and grammar rules, yet they still feel nervous when talking to native speakers. That's because real conversations aren't built with isolated words. They're built with natural, everyday phrases. Native speakers rely on these expressions so often that they become automatic, and once you start using them too, your English will immediately sound smoother, friendlier, and much more authentic.
Exactly, Alex. Think about your own language for a moment. You probably don't stop to think about every grammar rule before speaking. Instead, you naturally use familiar expressions that you've heard thousands of times. English works the same way. The more useful phrases you learn and practice, the more naturally you'll be able to understand conversations, respond quickly, and express yourself with confidence. That's why today's episode is so practical. We're not teaching complicated grammar or difficult vocabulary. We're sharing expressions that native speakers use every single day in real life.
And here's a little challenge for everyone listening. Don't just hear today's phrases. Try to imagine yourself using them in your own conversations. Repeat them out loud. Pay attention to how Emma and I use them in different situations, and choose a few favorites to practice today. Even if you learn only 3 or 4 new expressions from this episode, that's enough to make your next English conversation sound much more natural. And here's a little challenge for everyone listening. Don't just hear today's phrases. Try to imagine yourself using them in your own conversations. Repeat them out loud. Pay attention to how Emma and I use them in different situations, and choose a few favorites to practice today. Even if you learn only 3 or 4 new expressions from this episode, that's enough to make your next English conversation sound much more natural.
So, if you're ready to move beyond textbook English and start speaking the kind of English you hear in movies, podcasts, workplaces, cafes, and everyday conversations, then you're in exactly the right place. Let's begin by answering an important question. Why does textbook English often sound so different from the English that native speakers use every day? Now, Alex, I think this is one of the biggest questions that almost every English learner asks at some point. They study English for months or even years. They learn grammar, memorize vocabulary, and complete exercises in textbooks. But then one day, they watch an American movie, listen to a podcast, or talk to a native speaker, and suddenly they feel completely lost. They start wondering, did I learn the wrong English? The answer is no. You didn't learn the wrong English. You simply learned formal English, while native speakers spend most of their lives using natural, conversational English. Textbooks are designed to teach you the rules of the language, but real conversations are built around habits, emotions, and expressions that people use automatically without even thinking about them.
That's such an important point, Emma. Imagine learning how to play football by reading a rule book but never actually stepping onto the field. You might know every rule perfectly, but when the real game begins, everything moves much faster than you expected. Speaking English is very similar. Native speakers don't carefully choose every word or mentally review grammar rules before they speak. They rely on phrases they've heard thousands of times since childhood. That's why you'll often hear expressions like, "no worries," "sounds good," "fair enough," or "I'm all ears." These phrases come naturally to them because they've become part of their everyday communication, not because they memorize them from a lesson.
Exactly. Another reason conversations sound different is that native speakers want communication to be quick, relaxed, and friendly. Instead of speaking in long, perfectly structured textbook sentences, they often use short expressions that instantly communicate an idea or emotion. That's why someone might simply say, "You got this," instead of giving a long motivational speech, or "hang on a second," instead of saying, "Please wait for a brief moment while I finish what I am doing." Both are correct, but one sounds like a real conversation, while the other sounds like it came straight from a classroom exercise.
And here's the good news for everyone listening. You don't need to memorize thousands of difficult words to sound more natural. In fact, learning a few hundred common everyday phrases can make a much bigger difference than learning thousands of isolated vocabulary words. Once you understand how native speakers connect ideas using these expressions, you'll not only understand movies, podcasts, and conversations more easily, but you'll also start speaking with greater confidence and much less hesitation. Absolutely. So now that we understand why textbook English and real-life English often sound so different, it's time for the fun part of today's episode. Let's begin learning the everyday phrases that native speakers actually use in real conversations, and you'll probably hear many of them before the day is over.
Now we're getting to one of the most exciting parts of today's episode. These are expressions that native English speakers use almost every single day. You'll hear them at work, at school, in coffee shops, while talking to friends, and even in movies and TV shows. The best part is that these phrases are short, easy to remember, and incredibly useful. So, Alex, are you ready for our first phrase?
Absolutely. Our first phrase is no worries. This is one of the most common expressions in everyday English. Native speakers use it to say, it's okay, don't worry about it, or it's not a problem. Instead of giving a formal response like, that is perfectly acceptable, people simply smile and say, no worries. It sounds friendly, relaxed, and natural.
Here's a real life example. Imagine you accidentally arrive 5 minutes late to meet your friend. You say, I'm so sorry I'm late. Your friend replies, no worries, I just got here myself. See how easy and natural that sounds? It's a simple phrase, but it immediately makes the conversation feel warm and comfortable. Our second phrase is that makes sense. Native speakers use this expression whenever they finally understand someone's explanation or agree that something is logical. Instead of saying, I now understand your explanation completely, they simply say, that makes sense.
Imagine your colleague says the road was closed this morning, so everyone arrived late. You can naturally reply, oh, that makes sense. With just 3 words, you've shown that you understand the situation. It's one of those expressions you'll hear almost every day in English conversations. The third phrase is hang on. This simply means wait a moment. Native speakers use it constantly when they need a few seconds before continuing a conversation.
For example, imagine you're talking to a friend on the phone and someone knocks on your door. You say, hang on a second, someone's at the door. Or maybe you're looking for your keys before leaving the house. You could say, hang on, I can't find my keys. Notice that nobody thinks about grammar here. They simply use the phrase automatically because it's part of everyday speech. Now here's a phrase that many English learners love because it sounds interesting. I'm all ears. Of course, it doesn't literally mean that your whole body is made of ears. It's an idiom that means I'm listening carefully or I'm ready to hear what you have to say.
Imagine your friend says, I have some exciting news to tell you. Instead of saying, please continue because I am listening carefully, you can simply smile and reply, really? I'm all ears. This phrase immediately makes your English sound much more natural and conversational. Our fifth phrase is you got this. This is one of the most encouraging expressions in English. Native speakers say it to give someone confidence before an important event like an exam, a job interview, a presentation, or even a sports competition.
Let's imagine your friend is feeling nervous before an English speaking test. They say, I'm afraid I'll make mistakes. You smile and answer, don't worry, you've practiced a lot. You got this. Those 3 simple words can make someone feel supported and motivated. That's why you'll hear this phrase everywhere, from classrooms and workplaces to sports fields and social media.
Have you noticed something interesting, Emma? None of these expressions are difficult. In fact, every phrase we've covered today uses simple English words. But when you put those words together in the way native speakers do, they become powerful, natural expressions that make your English sound much more fluent.
Exactly. That's the secret to speaking naturally. Fluency isn't about using the biggest words in the dictionary. It's about using the right phrases at the right time. And don't worry, we're just getting started. We still have 5 more everyday expressions that native speakers use all the time, and some of them might completely change the way you communicate in English. Welcome back. So far, we've learned 5 incredibly useful expressions that native speakers use almost every day. If you've been repeating them with us, you're already building the habit of speaking more naturally. Now, let's continue with 5 more phrases that you'll hear in everyday conversations. These expressions may seem simple, but they're used so often that once you start recognizing them, you'll hear them everywhere, from workplaces and classrooms to restaurants, airports, podcasts, and even your favorite TV shows.
Our 6th phrase is fair enough. Native speakers use this expression when they understand or accept another person's opinion or decision, even if they don't completely agree with it. It shows respect for the other person's point of view and helps keep conversations friendly.
Let's imagine this situation. I asked my friend, do you want to come to the movies tonight? My friend replies, I'd love to, but I have an important exam tomorrow, so I need to stay home and study. Instead of feeling disappointed or arguing, I can simply say, fair enough. Good luck with your exam. That short response tells the other person, I understand your reason and I respect your decision. It's a phrase native speakers use naturally because it keeps conversations positive and polite.
Our next phrase is sounds good. This is probably one of the easiest expressions to learn, but it's also one of the most useful. Native speakers use it whenever they agree with a suggestion or think that a plan is a good idea.
Here's an everyday example. Your coworker says, let's meet at the cafe at 3 o'clock and finish the project together. You don't need to answer with a long sentence like, I believe that is an excellent plan. Instead, you simply smile and say, sounds good. Another example could be, let's order pizza tonight. Sounds good. It's short, natural, and friendly, which is exactly why native speakers love using it. Here's an everyday example. Your coworker says, let's meet at the cafe at 3 o'clock and finish the project together. You don't need to answer with a long sentence like, I believe that is an excellent plan. Instead, you simply smile and say, sounds good. Another example could be, let's order pizza tonight. Sounds good. It's short, natural, and friendly, which is exactly why native speakers love using it.
Now let's look at a phrase that you'll hear especially among friends and younger speakers. The phrase is my bad. It simply means I'm sorry, or that was my mistake. It's an informal way to admit you've made a small error.
Imagine you're working on a group project and you accidentally send the wrong document to your team. One of your teammates says, Alex, I think you sent yesterday's file. Instead of making excuses, I can quickly reply, oh, my bad. I'll send the correct one right now. It's a simple expression, but it shows responsibility without making the conversation awkward. Just remember that because it's informal, it's better to use it with friends, classmates, or coworkers, not in very formal business meetings.
Our ninth phrase is it's up to you. Native speakers use this expression when they want someone else to make the decision. It means you can choose, or the decision is yours.
For example, imagine two friends are deciding where to eat. One friend asks, would you rather have burgers or Italian food? The other person replies, it's up to you. I'm happy with either. Or maybe someone asks, should we watch a comedy or an action movie? You can naturally answer, it's up to you. This phrase is extremely common because people often want to give others the freedom to decide.
And now for our final phrase in this section, I can't complain. This is a very common response when someone asks how you're doing. It doesn't mean that your life is perfect. It simply means that things are going reasonably well and you don't have any major problems to talk about.
Imagine you meet a neighbor in the morning. They ask, hey Alex, how's everything going? Instead of always saying, I'm fine, thank you, you can answer, I can't complain. How about you? This sounds much more natural because it's exactly how many native speakers respond in everyday conversations. It's friendly, relaxed, and helps keep the conversation flowing. Emma. Now let's pause for a second and look at what we've learned today. None of these expressions are difficult and none of them require advanced grammar. Yet together they can completely transform the way you speak English. Instead of sounding like you're translating every sentence from your first language, you'll begin to sound more confident, more relaxed, and much closer to the way native speakers communicate every day.
And here's something we'd like every listener to remember. Don't try to memorize all 10 phrases in one day. Instead, choose 2 or 3 expressions that you really like. Use them in your conversations, repeat them out loud, write your own example sentences, and practice them until they become automatic. That's exactly how native speakers learn them. Not by studying a textbook, but by hearing and using them again and again in real-life situations.
Great advice, Alex. Now it's time to see how well you've been paying attention. In the next part of today's episode, we're going to give you a fun practice challenge where you can test yourself by choosing the correct phrase for different real-life situations. So stay with us. It's your turn to speak. Now it's your turn. We've learned 10 everyday English phrases that native speakers use all the time, but simply listening isn't enough. The fastest way to improve your English is to actually use what you've learned. So, we're going to give you a quick practice challenge. Alex and I will describe a real-life situation, and before we reveal the answer, we'd like you to pause the video for a few seconds and think about which phrase fits best. Don't worry if you don't get every answer right. The goal is to start thinking in English instead of translating.
Exactly. Imagine we're having a real conversation with you. Listen carefully, think about the situation, and choose the phrase that feels the most natural. Ready? Let's begin with our first challenge. Your friend says, "I'm really nervous about my job interview tomorrow. I don't think I'll do well." What would you say to encourage your friend? Take a moment. Think about it. Pause for a few seconds.
The best answer is "you got this." It's short, positive, and full of encouragement. Native speakers use this phrase to give someone confidence before an important event like an interview, an exam, or a presentation. Here's the next situation. Your coworker says, "Let's finish this report after lunch." You like the idea and agree with the plan. Which phrase would you use? Take a few seconds to think. Pause.
A natural response would be, "Sounds good." It's one of the most common ways to accept a suggestion in everyday English. You'll hear this phrase in offices, schools, and conversations with friends all the time. Now for the last challenge. Someone asks you, "How are you doing today?" You're feeling okay. Nothing amazing has happened, but nothing is wrong either. What would you naturally say? Think about it. Pause.
As we come to the end of today's episode, let's quickly remember the most important lesson. Speaking English naturally isn't about using the most difficult vocabulary or memorizing hundreds of grammar rules. It's about learning the phrases that native speakers use every single day and practicing them until they become part of your own conversations. The expressions we learned today may seem simple, but they're exactly the kind of English you'll hear in real life. Whether you're talking to friends, chatting with coworkers, traveling, studying abroad, or communicating with people from around the world. Small improvements made consistently every day can lead to incredible progress over time.
Take care, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode of Modern English Talk. Goodbye.